ZombieTech. Welcome to ZombieTech, a forum for engineers, scientists, and inventors to ponder on the technologies needed to survive the inevitable zombie apocalypse.
She's Addie.
He's Whisker.
And who do we have this week?
This week we have Nick McClanahan of Gadget.
Hey, guys.
Hey, of Gadget Gangster notoriety. And I guess notoriety would work in this context because gangsters are supposed to be notorious.
Yes,
for
it's true.
Whatever it is they are notorious for.
Even if it's gadgets.
Yes.
Well, you could be a gangster. You're right, actually. You know, you think about all the defense that they provide.
Yeah.
And the protection that they provide people.
Right.
I don't know why that gets notoriety. That really should get acclaim. But
Well, defense in a will kill you if you don't pay for said defense.
Right, exactly.
Would you like us to be antagonists or protagonists? Which one?
Right, exactly.
You choose.
Defending us from something.
So is that the sales technique that you're going for? Here, you want this gadget.
I think
I think you really want this gadget.
Our tagline should be, I think you want to buy from us.
Do it.
All your prices are set at offers people can't refuse.
You can't refuse.
Ever.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I guess that's my notoriety. And also, I'm always, always thinking about zombies, and I think that is important notoriety here.
Indeed.
On podcasts.
So. Right.
Yeah.
So we actually usually we have this whole procedure of getting set up and what have you, but Nick was right on the ball about talking about zombies and proceeded to launch into it even before we had said welcome to ZombieTech. So
I'm like a wild horse. You can't tame me. I'm a Mustang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a little background before we get started here. Addie and I, of course, just got back from our epic road trip to California.
Yep.
And one of the first people we met when we landed there in Rockland was Nick. Mm-hmm. And he showed up. It was real late at night at the hotel there.
Way too late.
Yeah, we ended up staying up way too late talking to him and a few other people. And there was sort of like just a sort of blanket invitation for Nick to join us on all the rest of our adventures while we were in the area. And he kept just popping up in random places for the next week or so. It was really fun.
I'm like herpes,
like herpes. So you're a Mustang with herpes?
I'm a Mustang with herpes.
Who intimidates people into buying gadgets. I see.
That's fantastic. I love it. That's fantastic.
Patient zero.
Yeah, exactly.
Do it.
So
otherwise,
it was a lot of fun hanging out with you guys. And now you're back home, but it's fun to talk to you again and catch up.
It's been too long.
And say hi. Of course. Well, you'll be out here again. You going out again next week?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, next week? No, next year.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you've already got planned.
Well, yeah. I actually, at work, we have to schedule our vacation a year in advance because, everybody knows what they are going to need a year in advance. So I scheduled around the April time, in tandem with the expo. Yeah. So we'll see if we can do another epic trip and spend some more money at Weird Stuff Warehouse and, all that good stuff.
I'm using my computer monitor, by the way, my holder.
Yeah, are you?
It's awesome. Really is.
And we found, so Weird Stuff Warehouse, for those who don't know, it's in Sunnyvale, California. And it's this amazing warehouse of stuff, weird stuff.
A lot of weird stuff.
Essentially a surplus store.
Correct. Surplus electronics store. And Nick and Whisker found these.
Roy, too.
Oh, and Roy got these great monitor arms that would normally have cost, I don't know, $200, 100,
easily,
100, 200. And they got it for $20 each.
Yeah.
I got 2. I think Roy got 3.
I actually paid like $40 because I didn't negotiate.
You should have waited in line behind us.
Should have pulled out them gangster skills.
I know,
and said, I'm a Mustang with herpes.
If I'm a real gangster, I would have just walked out of the store, with them. But I don't know if they frown on that or not. I don't know.
This is not a rod in my pocket.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. That's right. How dare you, sir?
I'm a Mustang.
Yeah, that's right. Mustang.
Okay.
Mustang.
I'm gonna have to rein this back, I think.
Yeah. Just rewind the clock on that one.
Rein it back, Mustang.
Yeah, I was punning.
Yeah, very nice. I appreciate it. All right, so zombies.
All about zombies.
Right. So what are your initial thoughts on zombies before we get going?
Holy shit. So first of all, that's like, what's your initial thoughts? Well, I mean, what's your thought on the sky?
It's blue.
Exactly. There's so much to it that it's not like I have an initial thought. There's so many angles and aspects.
Well, you were saying there are like two different types of zombies?
No. There are two different types of zombies. But I would say in general, I think about zombies in two ways. One, as a metaphorical kind of allegory for society, and it really says a lot about it says a lot about a lot of things, and I find it very interesting as kind of a philosophical study. And then on the other side, I just am concerned about the inevitable apocalypse and how to survive. Right? So there's two different angles to the zombies. You know, the storytelling that they are a part of, and how to avoid their, smashing.
Right. Right.
Exactly, and all that stuff. So yeah, but within the zombies, so from a philosophical perspective, there are two, in my mind, there are two kinds of zombies. They're the mindless, slow-growing zombies. They never act. They're totally incompetent.
Right.
If you get
ambulating.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you get killed by them at any given time, you did something really stupid.
Like had sex or
right, exactly.
Peed while trying to get away from a slow zombie.
Exactly. And then you turn around and boom, there was a guy right there.
Right.
And then there's the active zombies. These are like the runners.
Yep.
And from a philosophical perspective, I kind of prefer the tired zombies, sleepers.
I would too.
They're a little more interesting.
Interesting. That's different. I'm thinking that they're safer because you can take more time. You can hang out with your friends and then kill it. Right.
This is the ultimate deception. You will always die. Neither of them is safe. You're gonna die either way.
Unless you kill them all.
You can you can only delay the inevitable.
Yeah, and you can delay it until it's your natural time to die.
That's true. That's possible. And I do admit you have a much better probability of surviving the slow growth zombies.
True.
So you'll live longer than with the high energy zombies, but
right.
you still will. You're going to get eaten no matter what.
I think that's showing very little faith in our preparation skills.
Well,
but I can appreciate. Okay, but you know what? I appreciate the realism, the reality, and the pragmatism. Of your sentiment.
No, I'm wrong. The truth is, we may not. But even as we're living through the apocalypse, we're always going to feel like we're just one mistake away from being eaten.
Sure.
So I can see that. That doesn't change.
I can see that.
I pretty much feel that way now.
Wow. One step away from being eaten.
Yeah.
What did I do to you? I provided a safe location for you, Oscar.
Yeah, but you look at me with those gleaming eyes, and it's just, I don't know. I've been wondering if this whole ZombieTech thing is just a cover, and you're trying to infiltrate us and learn our secrets so that your zombie kind can take over the world more easily.
What can I say?
I definitely believe when I think about the apocalypse, one thing I'm certain of is that it's not going to look like a zombie apocalypse, right? Because if they came out if the zombies walked out with a big sign that said zombies over here, we would all get organized and we'd all kill all the zombies and that'd be the end of it, right?
Maybe.
Well,
because there's always that one person who's like, no, she's my wife. I love her. I will keep her. And then,
But then there's that one person that shoots that one person. That would be me. And then I would have to shoot the zombie. So what's going to come out, it's going to be like, what I think is most likely is it's actually going to be nothing. It's going to be all of a sudden you wake up one day and there's been a disease that is spread out and incubated for 6 months. right? And then all of a sudden, just half the people in the world are zombies.
God,
It's gonna be like that.
And the other half are lunch.
And the other half for lunch.
Oh,
Exactly.
So then what?
Well, so this is my point in the preparation is if you're preparing for zombie apocalypse, you're screwed because it's not going to happen. You got to be prepared for just waking up one day
And having them there.
and having them there, right?
So as opposed to having the time
right
of spread, the time associated with the spread of the disease,
not
you're not
there.
gonna even. It's not even gonna be there.
Well, or if it is, you're not going to know that it's the zombie disease. You're going to think just people are catching cold or something.
That is very true.
Very likely.
So you got to be prepared at all times. Right now, for instance, what if I told you I were a zombie?
I'd say.
What would you do?
Good thing you're in California.
You got a point there, actually. So that's my first thing when I think about the zombie apocalypse. It's not going to look like the zombie apocalypse that we all think it is. It's going to be very deceptive and tricky.
Just an overnight bam.
In fact, yeah, exactly.
Do you think it's going to consist primarily of slow or fast?
Well,
or
it's see, the problem with the fast zombies, I don't think that physics will be suspended for the apocalypse. I think there'll still be physics.
Yeah.
And the fast zombies will burn themselves out. It's like Ebola.
Yeah.
It kills too quickly. And the fast zombies, they burn themselves out too quickly to even spread effectively.
Well, and it's interesting because the slow zombies came because George Romero felt that if a person's dying, they're dealing with rigor mortis. Right. So they would naturally be slower and kind of freeze up as they went along.
Exactly.
That's how he came up with that idea.
Right. And that's if you're a zombie, are you warming up before you chase down some lunch? You're getting hurt all the time. You're getting, it's a hard knock life for a zombie. They're not going to be physically fit and.
Cue musical.
That's right. That's right.
That'd be epic. A zombie musical.
I definitely think our zombie apocalypse is. It may even be to the point where even halfway through, you probably don't even think it's a zombie apocalypse, and it's going to be the slow moving zombies. Because otherwise they're going to burn themselves out, and then there won't be an apocalypse. It'll just be 500,000 dead people. It'll be Spanish flu.
What do you do with all the bodies?
Well, so this is a question, though. I mean, they're not even human anymore, right?
Right.
Can't you just burn them?
I guess you could. But then what if it becomes an aerosolized disease because of that?
Right. Yeah, the mechanism of the spread... if it's aerosolized, then we're really
we're all
doomed,
screwed.
Right? So it has to be like, and then there's no point in worrying about a zombie apocalypse because you're going to be a zombie.
Anyway.
Right? And then we should just be talking about.
Such a sobering discussion.
It's true.
So maybe the real way to prepare for the zombie apocalypse is to fill your basement with refrigerators full of brains.
I've been thinking about that.
Gross.
So how do you prepare?
I'm getting irpy.
So, you've got food in case you become a zombie. You can be at least a well-off zombie.
Exactly. We should be preparing for how to hunt brains. That's what we should all be preparing for.
Oh my gosh.
You want to be one of the poor zombies that's starving?
And you got to think about your retirement here, right?
Oh my gosh.
Well, I've decided. If it's an aerosolized zombie thing, we're doomed anyway. It doesn't matter. But if it's one of the biting ones, like a saliva blood thing,
yeah.
I've been formulating a plan.
Oh, what's your plan, Gadget Gangster?
Here it is. You ready?
Yes.
So, I believe the likelihood is that they're going to be the tired zombies.
Yeah.
And if I look at all of the zombies in history. The one thing that really stands out, the only thing that differentiates them from other things is that they are really interested in brains.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
They find those delicious. So it also means that in comparison, everything else is not as good as brains.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So if we go out and we just try to shotgun all the zombies, we're just going to run out of ammo and get eaten.
Right.
We need to find something that is just mildly annoying for them, that just keeps them away from us.
Well, now we did talk about this before. We discussed whether or not zombies could be Pavlovianly trained to avoid, say, our bunker. And we're kind of at an impasse.
They do have a desire, right?
Yeah.
They have a desire to eat you, but it doesn't mean that they form new behaviors based on that. I'm not sure if it's possible to know.
I kind of like the plan of setting up a beacon, some sort of come here. We have a safe harbor, but do it like 6 blocks from your actual bunker.
Exactly.
And make it so that it's very insecure and there's a lot of zombies hanging out there.
Why?
'Cause then there's a nice like constant food supply coming in for the zombies to distract them from their own bunker.
That's horrible.
I think that's the right thing to do, though, because they like brains. You got to do it. They love brains. You got to provide it for them.
The ethics are just non-existent.
Are ethics really applicable in the zombie apocalypse?
No, not at all.
What?
Because I mean, that's the real debate underneath, right? It's if you have ethics, you're pretty much guaranteed to become a zombie, and then you're part of the problem.
So if you're in the midst of a zombie apocalypse,
yeah,
then Whisker, is it okay to steal things from non-zombies?
Well, I wouldn't, but that's because I intend on having the things that I need to have. But I'm pretty sure that most everyone else will make the decision that, yeah, it's perfectly fine to steal stuff because
personal survival trumps collective survival.
This brings me to my philosophical thoughts about the zombie apocalypse.
Mm-hmm.
I think the reason why it's such a popular idea is one, because it's like gory and that's fun, right?
Sure.
But the other reason is because it reminds us of how interconnected we are, and that if we just had to do things all by ourselves, like there's really been no point. When that happened, humanity almost died out. Like we have to work together. We can't. We have to work cooperatively. Except for that beacon thing. That's totally separate.
So what you're saying is we made up zombies to feel good about humanity working together.
I don't know if necessarily if that's true, but I do know that the idea of zombies, it does remind us of how interconnected and interreliant we are. Because if we just do things by ourselves, like, I mean, we couldn't even live like the Unabomber. Like, it would be even worse than that. And who wants to live like the Unabomber?
Nobody.
Exactly. So
that scraggly beard and no.
Well, he had a nice hoodie, but he couldn't even have made that, right?
No, he couldn't have.
So that's why that's one of the kind of the powerful ideas of zombies, is a reminder of our interconnectedness. And I don't think we'll see, but I don't think people will be stealing from each other, because then nobody's going to make anything for anyone else, right?
Yeah, I mean, in the initial
yeah.
In the first weeks or whatever, I'm sure there will be lots of that sort of stuff.
It's true.
But it's not sustainable in any sense of the word. The looting, all the good stuff is going to be gone. The non-perishables will be gone immediately. Yeah. And then you get into the real problems, which are what we usually talk about on this show. Like, how do you deal with disposing of human waste? How do you deal with clean water? How do you deal with a sustainable food supply in a situation where it's not necessarily safe to go outside? These are all the big long-term problems that I think are far more having to do with what you're saying, that people need to be able to work together in order for us to move forward.
Yeah, I would say, like, if the apocalypse happened and it was just like us three, we would die. There's not enough. We would be living in such a basic sustenance life. We would probably all starve to death. There's like a minimum number, probably like 1,000 people, in order to sustain humanity. You can't. One person just can't live by themselves. I mean,
without going crazy. Sure.
Well, even not from a non-psychological perspective, but just to to capture and hunt food and to store it.
Yeah.
all that stuff.
Did you not see Castaway though?
That was actually fictional. I don't know if you
that's
knew
a
that.
movie. But you know, there's
a
that
story.
guy that lives out with his wife in the national park up in Alaska for
Yeah.
almost the entire year. I mean, he has a plane or two come in maybe once or twice during the year,
Yeah.
and they
So
don't
that
even
still
really
requires.
they don't even really need that plane to come
Well,
in
unless they
because
need
they have the ability to actually sustain life there by themselves.
unless they need like some penicillin, right?
Well, yeah,
Mm,
just strap
true.
some moldy bread to the wound.
Yeah, right. Exactly, right. So I mean, as
Gross.
it's impossible to fathom what it would be like if we were to truly live on our own. I really think. Well, we can agree though. There is probably a minimum number, right? Do you think there'd be if there were one human left on Earth? Do you think he could? And there were no food. The zombies had eaten everything.
Ugh.
Just you think he could survive?
For a while, obviously, but not
Yeah.
indefinitely.
Well, yeah.
So our approach to this has been to instead of staying as an island unto
You gotta get
ourselves
together.
here, we
Mhm.
have done things like picked up a lot of like long distance ham radio gear
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
made contacts with people and interviewed them to see whether or not they're suitable for calling on those radios when the time comes.
So
Right.
really, this is an interview to see whether or not you will be able to join our zombie apocalypse bunker crew.
Yes, the new world post zombie order.
It's so that's hilarious. I hope I passed the interview because
You're doing pretty good so far. I mean, I
Like-
appreciate the philosophical,
The
discussion
ideas.
here. Yeah. Mhm.
so I think the first thing you got to do is you got to make sure your personal safety, and the only way to do that we know is that zombies love brains. So
Right.
throw brains away from yourself, right? You just have to be slightly less appetizing than the alternative. That's all.
So does it mean you have to have fewer brains than like the next person?
Whatever it is, right? You just got to just have the thing that's next to you has to be a little bit more delicious, and you'll be fine forever.
I saw a good quote the other day on that
Burpee.
topic. Somebody said, "I really, really like you, but if there are zombies, I'm going to trip you."
Exactly. You just have to run slightly faster than the other guy. So then we got to get together because in order to build humanity, to figure out the cure for zombies or just to set them on fire,
Mhm.
we got to sync up and get together. And I definitely think, unless it's the very worst, there will be enough regular non-zombies left to sustain humanity. But it's going to be a totally different world. It's going to be a cooler world.
That's gonna be cool.
Seems like a lot of the preppers and whatnot, they use this topic as just sort of an excuse to go camping and play with guns. We take
Yes.
a very different approach to this because most of the people that come on the show are, scientists or
Right.
electrical engineers or inventors or that sort of thing. And they're not really interested in going camping and playing with guns. They're more interested in solving social problems with engineering.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what this will be, right? For the first week, it's going to be going out camping and playing with guns. But you're going to run out of bullets. How long is camping going to sustain you? So in a year or 2 years, it's going to be about creating a new society
Mm-hmm.
and how that's organized. And that's going to be that's a challenge. And communication is definitely part of that, and science is part of that. And there are a lot of skills that come together to make that happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, Peter the Thinker, for example, a really smart engineering student, but he's just out of range of our CB radios on 2 meters. So we need to understand things like tropospheric ducting to know what
Right.
kind of atmospheric conditions need to be in place for us to sneak a message through the cloud layer to drop down into his town to be able to say, "Hey, come up here. We're still alive."
So what happens? Let's say you get them all over there. I think in the apocalypse, I think there's probably the mini ice age was like 1,600 people. I think that's probably the number you need, and I think it'll be pretty straightforward to get 2,000 or 3,000 serious humans
Mm-hmm.
post contagion
Mm-hmm.
and begin the defense. So once you get all your guys together on the CB radio, you bring them in, or however you communicate. Now, what do you say to them?
I think the general idea is to pretty much have a good idea ahead of time so that you don't have to figure it out then.
I would say that we're screwed.
Probably.
Yeah.
But 1,500 people, that's a lot of episodes of ZombieTech.
Modular survival, I think.
What's that mean?
Well, like, having little groups of people set up like enough water filtration or food processing or whatever for, say, a group of like 50. And then keep, every time we're about to hit that number again, add another module.
Is the idea to spread the risk so that even when the zombies get to that one place, they don't go to the other?
Well, if they get to that one place, you still have all these other places that are functional.
So what you're saying is we should spread up.
Yeah, and
I think so.
Willow Brew had a really nice idea of
Geeks Without Bounds.
Yeah, using blimps to, if you went to the trouble to have an actual bunker and you at the top of it had some sort of way to dock a blimp to it, you could facilitate commerce, right?
Sure.
Without having to have everybody packed into one spot and have all of the intersocial problems that causes.
Right.
Sure. Yeah. I think societies, I think like the day after the apocalypse, everybody's going to be stealing from each other's house. It's going to be like a riot. But after a couple weeks or a couple months, things will start to settle down. And I think societies tend to be self-organizing. Mm-hmm. And there'll be an organization. And, to say that, you can't just trust that it'll happen. And you have to participate to make sure that it happens effectively. I don't think you split up, though. I think you stick together. I don't know what you do, though, because say there are 50,000 people left. That's 5.5 billion zombies.
Yeah.
That's a lot of zombies.
The question is, do they die off?
They have to, right?
Well, yeah, we go with the physics is still in,
Right. So if you can hold out long enough, they'll die off. All of them.
Eventually.
Yeah, unless
cannibalism between if cannibalism is possible in between each other, then it stretches out for a much longer period of time.
Exactly. So are the zombies, do they have a limbic system or they just have a brainstem?
Bradley Wojtek would be the guy to ask on this. He's the expert.
Then they're going to die out fairly quickly because they're not going to learn very much. They're not going to learn that they can eat each other if they really have to.
Bradley's a neuroscientist, and he's actually looked into what brain damage precisely would have to occur for a human being to exhibit the sort of behavioral changes that we observe in zombies of the different types.
I bet you'd have to be like a brainstem.
Yeah, I think it's just brainstem.
Which is you're not going to learn very much. Now, here's a question though. There are plenty of animals that they're not much more sophisticated than zombies.
Yeah.
They may have an elementary limbic system, so they can do some pattern recognition.
Mm-hmm.
Is it okay just to run around and just blast animals with a shotgun?
Well,
in where I come from, it is.
Well,
especially
according to what the DNR,
hungrily.
according to what the DNR allows, of course. Well, but they're part of the natural ecosystem, the natural cycle of life, as it were. So if they were not there in the chain, they mess up something else in the system. Whereas zombies are not really part of the cycle of life; they just end it.
Are they though? I mean, okay. So I don't agree. I think it's unethical to kill zombies.
Yeah.
I think you're playing devil's advocate there.
Well, obviously, if there's a zombie trying to eat me, I'd probably blast him in the face.
You unethical person, you.
But you are right. That is one of the ethical questions that come up is when is the line crossed?
Right.
What sort of behavior and medical like infection danger level do you have to surpass until it's okay to just spray and walk away?
Right. And this is what I'm saying though, is that the zombie apocalypse, it's not going to look like a zombie apocalypse. They're not going to be zombies. We're going to be asking. Uh, there are a class of people who may have a severe infection that it causes them to be, say they need long-term life support.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're going to be talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So if we call them zombies, then yeah, we can blast them away. But we're not gonna. They're not going to call them that.
Right.
And then is it going to be? So then it would clearly be okay to shoot them if they're called zombies, right?
I think a lot of it has to do with they're an imminent threat to everybody else in the sense that they're wandering around, sneaking through the dark, biting you when you don't want them to, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That sort of pushes most people past the line.
I don't know, though. That's a good question.
What if zombies are actually the next evolution of humans?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, if they outlive us, they eat us all. Clearly, they found out a superior evolutionary strategy, right?
Well,
so
yeah.
What if we're the disease and zombies are the next generation? What if we belong to? What if we should die? Is what I'm asking.
Well, I think that's a whole other realm of philosophical debate there. But
well, it's relevant, right? Maybe we shouldn't survive the apocalypse.
I'm sure there's a lot of other species on the planet that would probably appreciate the zombie apocalypse.
Exactly.
Well, unless the zombies eat them, in which case
right.
It would not be a very appreciative gesture.
I do have a strategy for personal survival. That's to put a pile of brains right next to me.
Where do you intend on getting said brains?
That is a fantastic question. So brains, here's the thing. If it's true, and we don't know, but if it's true that zombies are they find that delicious, aren't they really? I mean, is it really the brain, or is it just they really love the lipids, the cholesterol that brain is made out of?
Ugh.
Can we substitute pig brains?
I think so.
That's what I think too. So that's my strat.
So you're gonna explain to your wife somehow that you decided to get a whole bunch of pig brains to stick in your refrigerator.
It's gonna smell delicious.
Gross.
That's gonna be great.
She would throw them right out.
Yeah, she would. Of course, she would.
Okay.
It's gonna be an interesting. It's gonna be a miserable 50 years. Yeah. I think it'll be just like the mini ice age, where there are very few humans and they're struggling to survive. Think about this in comparison, right? In the fall of Rome, you had generations of people who were living in Rome who had no idea how any of the things there were built.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it's going to be like when there are 50,000 humans left on Earth. I mean, we're going to look at an airplane and go, how the heck?
Yeah.
Well,
that's why we're talking to all of these different engineers, because you guys actually know.
So that doesn't happen, because at this particular point in the human's evolution, we have sort of our biological evolution is no longer nearly as important as our mimetic evolution. The network of shared ideas of how to do things has far more effect on our day-to-day lives than anything in our biology does.
Yes.
So the more important thing to save in the zombie apocalypse isn't, just the reproduction of us. It obviously is, but that's not enough. We have to take that, and we have to take the developments of science so that we don't lose it. Like, the Egyptian empires lost theirs, like the, Dark Ages, they lost it. It's important that we don't lose it again, because we have the hindsight of watching civilization after civilization rise and fall, that we know that falling is inevitable, and we can prepare for it ahead of time by making sure that we always keep aware that there should be those who know should always make sure that they pass their knowledge on to someone.
In some ways, I think obviously when it comes to technical stuff, I think you're right. There's technical understandings of how we interact with the environment around us to make for clean water and stuff like that. That's knowledge that should be passed on forever. But what if there's certain knowledge in our society right now that shouldn't be passed on forever?
And there is an awful lot of it.
Right? I mean,
that's the whole thing with memetics. It's ideas that spread from person to person because they have some sort of benefit. And
Right.
just because something is beneficial doesn't mean it's moral, right?
Right.
You know, I understand the idea that starting a pyramid scheme is very profitable.
Sure.
But I also have been instilled with the moral meme to understand that profiting off of other people's stupidity isn't okay. For the
Sure.
long term, for mankind, it's not okay. So you have to instill in the next generation not just the know-how to do things, but the know-how for the long picture, the long-term view. What is good for mankind in general and not just for the moment.
What I find disturbing about this, so there are ideas, and I admit my hobby is economics, and the economic way to say it would be there are ideas that provide utility, even though they may not provide any tangible benefit. So they're not really, they don't accrue any value, but they provide utility. Some of those ideas are like, it's fun to steal from people is one of those ideas. But so what concerns me is that who gets to decide what ideas get passed? And it's just going to be the random 1,000 people that survive.
Yeah, I mean, it's the people who've, put themselves in a position to very easily make it through. And I'm one, so hey.
Yeah.
You don't like my ideas? Be more prepared than me. I mean, it's kind of how it goes, right?
We all pay Lord Whisker all of our money every month. I mean, that's
no. I don't
been
want your money, and that's why I asked. That's why I answered your question the way I did about stealing from your neighbors. I wouldn't do that because it's a short-term solution,
right? Of course,
and in the long term, it just doesn't make sense to do that.
Yeah,
and I think a lot of people out there who are intelligent enough to survive are also wise enough to make that same decision.
Well, what happens is the people who aren't wise enough quickly everybody stops trading with them, and then they starve to death. So there are very few people, surprisingly few people who actually do that, who will steal from you and all that stuff when given a chance, because it's not an effective survival strategy. But regardless of it, I do find it interesting to think about that. So I guess for me, I look at zombies from two perspectives: the practical perspective, and the issue of surviving the apocalypse, the issue of avoiding the attack, the issue of reorganizing. And how a new society is going to come together. And from that philosophical perspective, one of those things is how it's okay to do things to zombies that we wouldn't do to people. And at what point do they become? Does it become okay just to murder them? I believe that it may never be. And I actually we could prove this if we took people and we asked them to shoot zombies and see what happened. Would people actually be so eager to?
Well, people do, but people do things like shock each other in a research study. You know what I mean? So
true.
If they're willing to shock each other and see the actual pain of another human being who's in perfect health,
sure,
of course they'd be willing to shoot something that looks like it's rotting and is like wanting to eat them.
Well, plenty of people would not shock the subject to death.
Well, I think of that particular study. It was what?
Yeah.
10%?
Yeah,
right?
It was like 10% did.
And there's
low.
also the jailer experiment that they did as well.
Sure.
Right.
I mean, all of the research that's been done on this is pretty much pointed in the same direction, that as soon as people don't think that there's any any social consequence for these sort of taboo actions, then their moral compass instantaneously just sort of goes adrift.
Well, if they were just do nothing zombies, probably people wouldn't shoot them. But if you combine that with the potential danger of zombies, then it makes it pretty compelling.
Right.
You've also, in that sort of situation, you're surrounded by people. I mean, if you're lucky anyway, surrounded by people that are, encouraging you to shoot that zombie in the face.
Right. Well, yeah, right. Because it provides utility to everybody. It reduces the number. On one way, it does. And the other way, though, it doesn't provide any utility because the zombies continue forever. you eventually run out of bullets, or you
Mhm.
eventually get bored, and there's still zombies there.
Yeah, my
Right?
survival plan doesn't really have anything to do with shooting zombies in the face. It
Good
more
idea.
has to do with a barrier between the world that they exist in and the world that I exist in, and working to make sure that I don't have to cross that barrier unless absolutely necessary.
So in other words, you're cooperating with the zombies.
Well,
You're
they
sharing.
won, you know.
They did win. They really did win.
Yeah.
That's messed up but true.
So we have our own hydroponics bay,
In
our own
engineering,
medical facilities.
in engineering, you don't ever approach a problem with like the you're not going to solve a problem well if you say, well, it would be great if the problem worked this way. No,
Right.
you have to solve the actual problem that's there, and the problem that is there is that the zombies won. They took over the planet. So trying to come up with a solution that involves you living in that same world as them, that's just it doesn't make sense to approach it that way. I mean, not to me anyway.
Of course, yeah. And I think despite everyone's greater theories, the first thing you're going to do is just make sure they're not getting eaten by zombies.
Yep.
Before you pick up the radio, before you organize, before you think about the future of humanity, you just want to make sure that zombies like not gnawing on you.
Yep.
That's the number one thing. Do you think there's going to be a safer part of the country to be when the zombie apocalypse come, or is it going to be?
It's fairly obviously that lower population density is going to be,
Better.
There's just simply less people there, then there's going to be less zombies there.
Like in other words, where you are, you're probably screwed.
Yeah,
I'm doomed.
Yeah.
Totally doomed.
And unfortunately, most of our guests on ZombieTech are also in San Francisco. They're
Yeah.
doomed.
Yeah, very much so.
Screwed.
I don't know. On one side, I see that for sure, right? There's going to be more zombies. It's going to be harder to get around.
Mm-hmm.
There's, more competition maybe. But on the other side, there are more survivors. And there are more people to work together to fight the infestation. So I wonder if that's actually going to be the case.
Well, but then, like you said, the initial reaction is that it's going to be that of looting and general crime. So
maybe.
So more people equals more initial crime.
So
More
one of our more illustrious guests on the show,
why you gotta
Mira
say
Grant,
more illustrious than who, Whisker? More illustrious.
When it comes to the topic of zombies, she is absolutely more illustrious than all of us.
Dang.
Mira Grant, author of Feed.
Yeah.
She, in her second book in the series, I'm not going to have any spoilers here, but I know how much she hates that. So she was just briefly talking about Oakland and how they actually were one of the safer places after the zombie apocalypse, because people in Oakland have guns, and they prefer a sort of slightly war zone sort of norm, right?
Sure. I don't know if Oakland is really like that, but I understand what you're saying. Like
the idea of the Oakland that we all think of. I mean, anybody above a certain age, anyway. So it didn't take much in this fictional story for them to just change the barriers a little bit there to be more effective against zombies instead of gangsters. Yeah. I
would definitely not want to be in San Francisco because there's like 3 ways out.
Yeah.
That seems like a dangerous thing for people. So, right. So we have and I'm not so sold that the first day after the zombie apocalypse breaks out that it's going to be chaos.
Well, no one will really know. I mean, information's going to be spreading for a good half year, if not year, before anybody does anything about anything.
Information is fast now, though. I don't know.
No, but like the swine flu, for instance, you know how long it took?
Well, that's misinformation. There's a difference.
That's true.
Well, no, it was pretty
inaccurate information. End-to-end bullcrap.
So
I guess the hyping of it, maybe, but still, like that idea, like if it had been as dangerous as they had purported it to be, people wouldn't listen. Nobody listened. Nobody stayed in quarantine. Nobody stopped traveling. They still traveled. They still
So I guess we
did
just
their
opened up a
normal
whole nother
stuff.
can of worms with the information of how the news gets out that there's a serious problem. And this is
Yes.
absolutely fascinating.
Well,
Because you've
I
got
know.
the media who is absolutely
Retarded.
ridiculous at this point with, getting things wrong.
Sensationalism at the wrong points. It's like a boy crying wolf.
And it
Well,
desensitizes people to the real message.
I think.
I'm suspicious of that. So obviously, people are going to do what's in their best interest. For the
Mhm.
media, that's get people to watch them,
Mhm.
so that they watch the commercials between. So it's no surprise that the media is going to try to blow everything up and get as many people as possible to watch.
Right.
But does that mean that? So does the media actually control behavior? Are people so simple that they watch something? They watch somebody tell them something, and then they blow up their house.
Well, I don't know about blowing up their house, but
What do they do?
But they, I mean, we're talking about like advertising and like, quote unquote subliminal messages or whatever.
Sure.
But like, if someone tells you that something is cool for long enough, like leggings,
Yeah.
people will buy it, even though they look awful.
Well, styles are relative. The utility derived from a fashion is by definition social, right?
Right.
Like, well, you wear certain clothes because you like the way other people look at you when you wear them. But the utility derived, for instance, if people tell me that eating a tin can is healthy, it doesn't matter how much they tell me, it's still not a healthy thing, right?
Yeah.
Like it's still gonna kill me.
Yeah.
So if on the media they come up and they say, you right now you need to kill everyone in your family and set your house on fire. Doesn't matter how often they say it, I'm not going to do it
Right.
because it's not actually in my best interest.
Right.
So
Not yet.
I wonder, not yet.
Right.
Well, it might be, and that's why
it
people
depends. Yeah.
well, yeah, it might get to that point where that is in my best interest, but that's why people ignore the media so much, is because they decide the effect of their behavior, and it's not always the same as what the media or other people have decided that it is.
Well,
We weigh
let's
outcomes
be accurate though. People at our in our community of highly educated professional people tend to ignore the media a great deal, but other social groups don't ignore it nearly as much.
Nah, I don't buy that.
Really?
I don't buy that. Everybody's a good driver, right? I've never driven with somebody who says I can't drive worth a damn. And everybody thinks they're above average too.
No,
Right?
no. I know people who think they're pretty average or below
Okay.
average. I know people who acknowledge that fact.
Let's just say the average person thinks they're above average.
All right, fair enough.
The average
Yeah.
person think they're I go with
It's a
that.
little bit of a tongue twister. So we all think that, well, I would never fall for that, but your average chump definitely would. When reality is they are your average chump.
Right.
And, we are your average chump. Just in different things. We like to learn about electronics. We like to learn about science.
Mm-hmm.
And other people learn about different things. Not that they're less useful.
Mm-hmm.
But, we were talking about how the post-apocalypse, the world's going to be recombined through sharing and cooperation, through a social structure. And so the knowledge there that rebuilds that social structure is going to be more valuable
Mm-hmm.
than the knowledge to rebuild an airplane, because who needs one of those right now?
Right.
Right? So, I'm suspicious of that. I do think, but I can't prove it. What would be an example? I was thinking of an example where chaos has ensued. It's never been really to the extent of an apocalypse, a zombie apocalypse, except before we have a written record. Right? We don't know what happened during
Mm-hmm.
the mini ice age.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure it was pretty sketchy. But in World War II, 60 million people died in like 4 years.
Right.
That's not still the scale of apocalypse.
Right.
I mean, what would it take? That's my real question. Whether it's from zombie infection or whether it's from bubonic plague, Bubonic plague, 1 out of every 3 Europeans died.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Would that be about the right ratio, or is it really 9 zombies to every 1 healthy person?
Oh, that's a good question.
How effective are
they? It really
they?
just depends on what type of infection it is, et cetera, et cetera.
Huh.
Unfortunately, getting into details like this is impossible because you're going off into the theoretical.
We need a virologist.
Well, yeah. Zombies are, the word is almost like, just to talk about zombies, you have to enter the theoretical, right? But you're right. It's too far of a bridge between today and what kind of zombie illness there will be.
I think society can break down very quickly.
Yes.
We had to go through Donner Pass on our way to California.
Oh, gosh.
And we had to get chains on our tires to get over the pass. So we had to slow down to 30. And we only made it about, 15 minutes into the pass before Eddie bit my hand.
No. Not true.
She's like, I don't think I'm going to make it through the winter. I'm like, it's spring. Stop biting me.
I didn't know such thing.
So, Nick, we have a bunch of questions that we ask every guest here on ZombieTech.
We're probably going to have to bring you back next week just to let you know. Okay. See, this is kind of difficult because normally we talk about all these electronics, but okay, whatever. So,
Screw electronics. What do you mean? Electricity's worthless. I'm going to be trying to munch on your head. What are you worried about? A light bulb.
Okay. I have to ask these anyway, though.
Okay.
All right. However useless.
Okay.
Top 3 tools you would bring to a zombie apocalypse bunker. And note, a tool can be something as big as a MRI machine.
Okay.
It could even be your toolbox, which includes a whole bunch of tools and
right. Yeah, I get the idea. By the way, just want people to know these answers were not prepared beforehand.
Right.
Although they should have been. It would have been nice. You guys emailed me. Then I could have done an essay. So top 3 tools to my zombie bunker.
Yep.
Definitely would not be guns or anything, because all that shit's going to wear itself out real quick.
Okay.
I would say the number 1 thing would be a radio.
Okay. Like a AM FM radio?
Or no, a talk radio. So like a CB radio. I don't know what's going to be popular. I don't think it's going to, I hate to tell you, Eddie, it's probably not going to be amateur ham radio.
I think you are missing out.
I might bring both.
We'll put it this way. It's very, very easy for me to solder a couple things to Eddie's very powerful ham radio to make it operate on civilian band.
Yeah, okay. That's good.
And we have a CB radio
spectrum
sitting here too. So
I just think more people are going to be using CB just because there are more CBs out there.
Fair enough.
And I think that's the number 1 thing you're going to, for long-term survival, number 1 thing, you don't need bullets. You don't need medicine. You need to get with people who know how to make bullets and people who can make medicine and who will trade you whatever your skills are, which, I don't have any. But if I did have some, we could trade. So number 1 by far, radio.
Okay.
So that I could talk on. I don't even know if it would be electricity. I don't think that would be number 2. The thing is, a lot of knowledge, like I wouldn't even bring a book because a lot of the knowledge, it's built on so many things that it's almost useless by itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I have a book on woodworking, and that assumes that you have like a saw.
Mm-hmm.
So a number 2 thing I would bring, it would be something to provide value for other people. It would be a water filter.
Okay.
Yeah, or solar still, something that could last forever.
Okay.
And then number 3, I'm just going to go easy on this one. I'm just a Kindle full of every book.
Every book.
Every book ever written.
Oh, that's cheating.
Well, somebody's got.
I do not think that's cheating at all. I think that's a really good idea.
I accept it, but I still think that's cheating because then what am I going to ask? Because my next question is always, what book are you going to bring?
Well, yeah, but we're talking about a real book now.
Oh,
okay, real book.
Okay, fine. So you have your Kindle, You have your
And the
water
Kindle's very
filter.
useful for packing through of like,
And-
technical
and reading.
knowledge and stuff like that,
Yeah.
right.
But, you do want to have, your
A hard copy of something.
Yeah.
All right.
Well-
So.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. But let's say that on your pack you are given the space for a book. What book would you bring?
So you could go two ways. Realistically, if you look at the probabilities, let's be honest here. You should just pack up some stuff just to comfort yourself while you die. Right? I mean,
You're
that's
such a pessimist.
I'm being an
Assume
actualist.
life.
I went the same way when they interviewed me. I was like, I want, my book to be something that's just entertaining that I love.
Yeah.
Because, what's life without the comforts?
Sure.
What's life without what's life without we are as humans, we're social animals, and what's life without a society? It's miserable.
Mm.
It's it's like we were made to be with others.
Mm-hmm.
But we can still be with others. That's the bright side, Whisker. So we shouldn't prepare ourselves for death. It's possible to get through this. I'm going to bring... We can get through this, buddy.
This is ZombieTech self-help.
Yeah, it's attitude that's going to
Group
cause us to
therapy.
get punched on.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
I'm going to bring...
We're going to hug after the show's done.
I know. And a little tear is going to roll down my eye.
I wonder if there's any coffee left back there at the table.
Maybe. Okay, so did anyone say they're going to bring the Bible?
Yeah.
Yep.
Couple people.
Yep.
Fascinating. I would not bring the Bible. Let's just say that.
It's a good read.
Not really.
The Old Testament's kind of fun. Lots
It
of
is fun. The Old One's fun.
wars and explosions and stuff.
Well,
Kinda cool.
I don't like that. Well, I don't like to talk about religion. I will say this though, but I will talk about it. There are a lot of great ideas there that allow people to live better, happier lives. You could probably have like a Cliff Notes that just suggests like, hey, don't steal from other people.
Yeah.
Cliff Notes.
Be
A
a
lot of the
modest.
best material in there is obvious.
Yeah, that's true, but it's always a good reminder. My book would be, you know what it would be? Maybe this is unfair, but it would be like a journal, so I can write down my thoughts.
That's a pretty good idea, actually.
Yeah,
I think you might be the first to have suggested a journal.
because it's me that's going to keep me alive, and unfortunately, my brain is too small to keep all my post-apocalyptic thoughts in it.
Sure.
All right.
It's a journal.
Awesome.
So we just got a couple minutes here, and we usually take a little bit of time to let people know about the stuff that you do and what you're up to recently. And I think in your case, the most recent thing would be that you guys just had your pilot episode of a new podcast.
Yeah. By the way, you guys need to tell us. Yes, we did. We have a fantastic. It's amazing. It's a new podcast. Jeff and I started doing it. It's called The Prototypers. It's on our site, gadgetgangster.com. We mostly talk about electronic stuff. Last week, I went to the tech shop, so I talked all about that. And we've been playing with the Netduino. We both love the props, so we talk about the propeller. It's really nerdy, but it's a lot of fun. At least it's a lot of fun to record. I don't really care about the people who listen to it, but I have a blast recording it. So
cool.
Yeah, and if you guys enjoy this show, you probably will enjoy the Prototypers because they don't dumb things down at all. They're right to the details. So that's good.
We are detail-oriented folks.
Yep. So you can find Nick's stuff at gadgetgangster.com, and I believe that is your Twitter handle as well.
Yes.
And the Prototypers is you guys have it at theprototypers.com?
We shouldn't we? That'd be a great idea.
Yeah.
But we don't.
Okay, so currently
I think the prototypers.com is a little taken.
Oh, yeah, probably. Well, in that case,
now.
I mean, it is at least on the gadgetgangster.com/news. And
just go to the homepage and click on that one. Holy cow! I need to. When does this thing go out? It doesn't go out until after I register that.
It goes up
this
Thursday.
Fantastic. So yes, go to theprototypers.com.
Oh, he's setting it up. Nice.
Yes. Yeah. So there we go.
Cool.
Guys, it's been fantastic talking to you. It's a lot of fun.
Likewise.
thanks for
And it's
joining us, Nick.
it's a lot of fun to think about not only the practical sides, but the philosophical sides of the inevitable apocalypse.
Yep.
Yeah, we enjoy it, and we've been doing this for quite a while now, and we still haven't run out of aspects to talk about. And I think that is very indicative that it is a topic worth talking about.
Absolutely. It's fun. It's tons of fun.
All right, we're out of time. Thanks for listening, everyone. You can find this show every Thursday, like we said, at ZombieTech.tv. Till next week. Bye.
See ya.
See ya.